An official welcome to those in the room. We hope that others will still be joining and that they're just a little late. I'm Dr. Ann Hilty, one of the co-facilitators, and today's topic is benefits of the member network organization in the digital age. By way of introduction, we know that membership has been somewhat on the decline across all of the organizations such as ours for about 30 years now, coinciding with the rise of the digital use. And we want to explore in this session the topic of what are the benefits to the bricks and mortar or more traditional member organizations such as BPW, even within this digital age. So we have a couple of speakers and a couple of us as facilitators joining in today. Our first speaker will be Emily Van Vleck, who hails from the US. She's a member in US, and she's the current Young BPW representative nationally, prior to which she was the same representative in New York City, where her membership is. Emily is a major in international studies with an emphasis on public policy and human rights, so she fits BPW very well. And she works currently as a flight attendant, so an international life also. Nilima is well known to us. She's the immediate past international YBPW or Young BPW representative, and she's a member in UK, US, California branch, Malaysia, and Nepal. So she's everywhere. She's professionally an architect. I'm Dr. Ann Hilty, as mentioned. I was the founding president of the current chapter in Hong Kong, which is the second such. The first one closed and we opened the second one some years ago. I'm remaining on the advisory council there, and I'm also a member in New York City, as well as co-facilitator of this series. And Dr. Yasmin Darwich may have been called into surgery. She's not with us at the moment, and I'm not sure if she'll join or not. So we will hold off on her introduction if she's able to join us. So without further ado, I'm going to turn this over to our first speaker, who is Emily. Emily, the floor is yours.
Hello, good morning. Well, good morning for me. Good afternoon, evening to everyone else. It's so lovely to see you. Thank you, Dr. Ann, so much for having me here speaking on this topic, which is paramount to our entire organization, membership. I think, to your point, Dr. Ann, with everything, everything has moved online and things are increasingly electronic. But I think through the pandemic, we've seen that, we can pivot as well. Just because everything is going online doesn't mean that we have to stay offline. Our club, our organization within the US, in New York City as well, most of our events are over Zoom now. We had our board of directors meeting last night, our quarterly board of directors meeting, and, everything's on Zoom, which is fabulous because that way you're increasing engagement and people participating. Nilima was able to join us from Nepal. It's incredible. So I think, we have to learn to work with the technology and use it to our advantage. Beyond that, as we have also learned from the pandemic, people want to be in person. After, 2 years of being cooped up, locked inside, Zoom's the only option. People want to go outside and meet each other now. They're excited. I've had the privilege of attending several events at the UN. I was at the Transforming Education Summit several weeks ago. Thanks again to Nilima's advocacy on that. And, the networking, part of the concept note for this talk is, networking advocacy is online, but I don't find that to be necessarily true. There's nothing like networking in person. It's much more approachable. You're able to speak with people. You don't have to be muted in order for me to speak. We can all be speaking together and, branch off into smaller conversations, more niche conversations. So I find it so much more organic. And then, as far as BPW, I think one of the beauties of our organization being an international, global organization is this, ability to meet people from other countries and other places. We have a young BPW in New York City who is studying abroad in London this term. And, if it's all online, that's one thing that's great. But to have this established network that you can plug into, to go there and know that you already have someone that you can meet and be friends with. And then, Nalima had reached out to me. Her sister is now living in New York. And, just this sisterhood, this again, network to plug into, I think is invaluable. And then beyond that is being able to meet people that I have friends in New York, of course I do, but are they interested in the same advocacy issues that I'm interested in? Do they want to pick up that torch and do something about it? Perhaps not. So I think, being a part of BPW is empowering, and, you have this other set of contacts that you're able to plug into and, to speak about issues that may not be on everyone else's agenda. And then, again, have friends now from all over the world. For me, it's great as a flight attendant. I land in a city and I'm like, hey, anyone around? It's fabulous. And that personal connection is absolutely missing on these online, more digital age that we're living in. So that's what I see out of this. My biggest things for being a member of BPW and, combating and working with this new digital shift. So again, thank you so much, Dr. Ann, for having me.
Thanks, Emily. And Nilima, we'll turn it over to you now.
Okay, namaste to everyone. It's evening here. I guess we are from all different parts of the world. So greetings to everyone. When we talk about having, whether it's an online or offline thing, my experience in the last 10 years has been that, the people that I've met personally in certain events of BPW, I can connect. I feel like they are my like family member. They are like friends, friends for life. Because it's been like 10 years that I've been a part of BPW. When I joined first as a member, I was in a club which hardly had a annual meeting. I hardly met anyone. So I was losing interest. Okay, so that's when I went to Cyprus to attend a young symposium in 2015. That's when I realized what BPW is all about. I met this amazing young woman from all over Europe who was trying to bring change. I had no idea what equal pay day was, because in Nepal we are fighting for equal rights right now. So when I heard that, when I saw everything that the girls, everyone, all the women BPW members were doing to bring change, to make uh, uh, decent living for all the women. So I realized that while coming back, when I went there, it was like I met this amazing women, and that it was a completely new experience for me. When I came back, I realized that globally we have this issue for which we have to be part of this global conversation. So I started attending more BPW events, more UN events. I went to CSW in 2017 March. So where I was, it was Judith who made me a panelist there in one of the CSW events. So, and that's when I got connected to Judith. Got connected to a lot of BPW members who are working with the UN or fighting in UN, making their voice raised from their countries when they clubs. And when I came back, I realized that if I really want to bring change in BPW, to make sure that the more young women are aware about this global conversation for which the seniors have been fighting for years and years and years, I think to continue and to speed up this process of equality, I realized that I need to make my voice heard globally. And for me, it would have not been possible if I have not met, our past international president Yasmin and past international president, Tuluki, who came to Nepal, who actually told me what BPW is all about. That's when I understood how big BPW is. Because before that, it was just a website. You go through website. We hardly had any Zoom, and no, nothing. Not even yearly annual meetings. So one thing I realized is if we really want to, have for the sustainability of BPW, if we really want to increase the membership, we have to make sure that we have regular events in clubs, in federation, or in the region, or in countries. So people feel like they are part of it. Because when I went to Cyprus, being an Asian girl in a European conference, I felt like I was part of them. I was no different than them. And that's the same thing happened when I went to UN. I realized there's a UN can do nothing if the women of the world don't raise their voice for the UN to change, and bring on the policies that is good for all the women around the world. And when I did run for BPW International, I had no idea I would get such an exposure to meet all the amazing, crazy, I met so much of, women who are so passionate about, advocating for women's rights. I felt like I am nothing compared to them. And that's why when I meet those people, that is what gives me the energy every time I meet those women, that I need to continue. I can't just sit back because everything is perfect in my life. So this is the reason I say that we need to have more in-person events. When I won the international, in the international executive, when I came back, they were like, I made like 100 new young BPW members in BPW Nepal, and I gave it to different clubs. Okay, and within a year, I called them and say, okay, please renew your membership. And then next year, what happened was they replied back to me saying that we pay the money, there is not a meeting, there is not a newsletter, there's no nothing, so they don't want to continue. Within 3 years, by the time I had given up my position, I realized out of 100, only 10 young members were standing there. Those 10 young members were those members who were actually traveling with me to different, events around the world, or those were the ones who were actually being a part of some projects or some initiatives. So what I think is, because if you see in lockdown, during the lockdown, we had so many, virtual events. First, we used to have 100 members attending it. Slowly it went to 80, 50. Now we hardly have 20 members attending it. So this is, though we want to change, like, it's important to go digital, but it's a way in which we can get connected once in a while, but that's not how we're going to recruit new members. And me being a part of BPW UK, USA, and Malaysia and Nepal, what I have been trying to do is, if I know someone from somewhere, I make sure that they become a member of certain clubs or federation, because uh, they need to be a part of the club, and they need to attend some meeting. They need to know the other person, what the other person is working on. And I think that is how we can work for the sustainability of BPW. We say that we had like million members long time back. Look at us now. The time I joined, it was 40,000. Now it's 20,000. So it's going to go down and down if we don't make sure that we have regular events. It doesn't have to be the grand gala dinner all the time. We can have a small catch up conversation. We can have any kind of a gathering where we invite uh, all the young, not just the young ones, everyone, so that everybody has something to say, because everybody has something in their mind and they need a space, a safe space where they can speak up, share their knowledge, or share their ideas. And I would really, really recommend that. I've been saying it to all the clubs or federation that I'm in touch with. I've been saying that at least have monthly online meeting, or maybe and an annual or in-person meeting if possible. Because to tell you the truth, around the world, we say we have clubs in more than 100 countries, but out of 100 countries, I don't think even 10 or 20 countries are actually implementing this in person or gathering, or online meeting. Because there are clubs all over the world. So we say, yeah, there are clubs here and there, and then we talk about how many members. We ask the president, how many members do you have? Can you bring like the 20 members that you have? Then they actually have to go and search for new members to make the 20 members in the club federation. So that problem is almost everywhere. And the problem why it is happening is because you start a club, you bring 20 people, and you only remember them when it's time to pay for the dues. And that is not going to keep the members intact. They need something, where they can share, even for me, after working 3 years for international executive, I had two options. Either I leave BPW or go global, where I can share whatever I learned internationally, and, and learn from all the clubs around the world. So being a part of UK, USA, and Malaysia and Nepal, one thing I realized is UK and USA, they are like the business and professional when it comes to meetings and having regular advocacy events. They are fighting. BPW is about advocacy, right? So if we don't work towards advocacy and just go out doing charity work, we are not a charity organization. So when I look at them, I learn a lot. I attended this meeting like few hours back, like 10 hours back of BPW USA. It was a quarter meeting. So when I looked at the professionalism they had it with in the virtual world, it was so perfect. We are not like the one who's starting from the base. We have we have done bachelors in Zoom, I would say, because everything was done in a very exact manner. It was very professional. Everybody was actually having this opportunities to speak, because when a member does a small little initiative, if she is not appreciated or if she is not given a floor to speak, that person doesn't want to continue or do again, because they are not looking for a award. They are just looking for the people to understand that she's trying, she's doing something somewhere. And that's why we need to have this kind of a online format if we can't bring people together. But at the same time, we also need to appreciate them, meet them, say that you are doing great in person as well. So I think in that way, if we move ahead, we'll have more members who are doing something in BPW, not just paying the membership and then just waiting for another gala dinner to wear some fancy dress. So I'm sorry to say that, but that's something that really strikes me a lot of times, because I've met amazing women, but I've also met women who just join BPW because they like the parties that BPW has it, does once in a while. So we have to focus that we are including all the members, and all the members have the equal floor to showcase their talent. So I think that's why I'm really looking forward to the next BPW event, that I can meet all the BPW members personally. Yeah. Thank you so much, Annie, for having me here. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, as always, Nilima, for your wonderful contributions, and your background with the organization now is invaluable. Really appreciate that. All right, so I'm going to bring us to a bit of a more didactic view, maybe. Being older than the first two speakers, I'm more inclined to use a PPT, I think. This is speaking of digital versus not digital. All right, so let's look at it, just a couple of facts. I'm just going to give you a few things, and then we'll open the floor for discussion following this. So first of all, so-called post-pandemic, because we know we're not really clear of this pandemic, but we're normalizing at this point. And so in this era, we have absolutely fully entered the digital age, far more than we were 2 years ago. And nearly all aspects of life are considerably more digitalized than before 2020. However, some recent research shows a couple of things. One is that more than 50% of members say their association, whatever association they belong to, is more significant to them in this era than it was before, even though we find now we can do nearly everything online. And 74%, 3/4 of members say no matter whether their membership dues are supported, because employers sometimes contribute, clubs sometimes contribute, no matter that, they would find the means to pay all the required membership dues. So 75% almost are fully committed, and more than 50%, the importance has actually increased for them. So here's the nitty-gritty. Offline is what we might say now, offline life, right? But before that, we would just have said, the real world, the physical world. The more traditional member organizations such as ours and Zonta and several other international women's organizations, and the mixed ones of Rotary and Lions Club and all of these others that are of a similar model. Let's look at some of these points, all of which can also be found online, I might mention, in a fully digital atmosphere. But we'll look at the value in the physical world. So first, we have a community of like-minded individuals, and I think both of our prior speakers mentioned this, that it's one thing to have your own personal support system, but you don't all have the same interests. And while you would want all your female friends to be interested in advocating for women's issues, not everyone is going to be able to pursue that in the same way. In such an organization as ours, we know already that we share this very important common interest. Mutual support goes hand in hand with that. Again, you can get support from people online. It's not quite the same as when you are members of an organization together, committed to similar goals. Leadership and procedural experience. So when you belong to an organization different from the online experience, you are learning from people who have been leaders for a considerable amount of time, who know the procedural way to handle meetings and handle whole congresses and so on. And this is something that is difficult, if not impossible, to get in the online experience. Professional opportunities. We can certainly source these through LinkedIn, for example, but we can also source these through our mutual members and find ways that we can advance our own career through the networking that we do in our organization. Mutual learning from others' experiences, not only leadership and procedural, but also any kind of experience. We can share that, and that goes across all ages. I might be older than someone, I might have more working experience, they might have an area of experience unknown to me. And so this goes back and forth regardless of age. We can learn from each other. Networking for increased resources. If we're doing a project locally, but we need increased resources, whether financial, we often are contributing to each other's projects around the world. We might need resources such as, who do you know in the UN? Who do you know in the state capital? Who do you know that can help us with this? And so those kinds of resources we can network for. Advocacy requires strength in numbers. We might have an online petition with 100,000 signatures. Very easy to do, by the way, in the online atmosphere, and that's important too. But we also need the actual strength of numbers in multiple clubs, in multiple members, in multiple countries. So that adds strength to what we're trying to accomplish. And the strength of our association history. In the case of BPW, we're almost a century old. We rely a lot on that. That's one of the things that people say first when they're trying to encourage new members to join. That's not enough, but that does carry a fair amount of strength. So we can rely on that kind of history, which is very different from starting a new project. So if we start a new project, but we connected to BPW, then we've got both. We've got the freshness and we've also got the long history. Brainstorming and shared ideas, for sure we can do this online. We can also do this within our member organizations. So we can get new ideas of how to advocate and how to better support and empower women in any country around the world through sharing our ideas. Mentorship. This also goes both ways. That can be younger to elder, that can be peer membership, mentorship, that can be the more traditional elder to younger. It all depends on what area of mentoring we're talking about. But this is another benefit and a fairly large area of what member organizations are often about, professional member organizations, including ours. Projects and task forces, if you want to get involved in a project or a task force, if you want to learn from them what you might do in your own country, if they're international or just in another country, we can have this kind of cross-border involvement as well. National and international networks. So if you are in Italy, for example, with, I don't know how many clubs, 93 the last I knew, just about every village has a club, then that gives an incredible strength at the national level. And that reflects back down to the clubs. And then, of course, we've already been talking about our international networking. Corporate organizational partnerships. So through the strength of an organization, we can partner with other organizations. And that's very different from what we can do as individuals or small groups. So again, a strength. Community service. We often get involved with this, even though we're technically not a service or a charity organization, but we're often doing projects at the community level to give back. This is another opportunity. And of course, all of this leads to enhancing your own CV, which is the personal benefit. So just a few more comments I want to make then. So which is better, online, offline? We often have this kind of debate. By 2025, this is some recent research. This is just 3 years from now. The working population, because we're a business and professional organization, will be 75% millennials and Gen Z. And I'm going to look at these two generations just a little bit more next. 75%. We have up to 5 generations in the workforce now, but the vast majority of these are people born in 1985 and later. And these are digital generations. So coming back to that in a moment. Association membership has only 29% of these generations. So this to me is a stark reality that we need to really face up to. And this would include BPW. I don't know if that's exactly our percentage, but we know that for people 35 and below, we don't have a strong membership, which is the growth of our organization. So looking at these two generations, millennials, 1980 to 1955, you'll find some variation on this, but this is generally the age group we're talking about. So these could be people that are up to age 42. So these are the vast majority of people in the workforce. 3 classic items found on research that generally this generation does not feel understood by larger systems, such as our organization and corporations and such. They generally report feeling quite stressed, and they're very eager for career advancement. So these are 3 key points. Gen Z, the younger ones, some of these born in 2011 are still kids. The ones born in 1996 are absolutely in the workforce. So this is the upcoming generation. These are our digital natives. Millennials are digital adapters, but these are the true digital natives, and that's their expectation. They are highly entrepreneurial, so we need to have absolutely a focus on that. They often report on surveys feeling lonely. They've grown up as digital natives. They are used to everybody in the room, even physically together, all looking at their individual screens. They're distrustful of structure by and large, so they're not going to just readily accept a 100-year-old structure such as ours, and they're frugal. They can do almost everything for free online. Why should they pay? So these are some items to take note. So how do we appeal to these generations? Because if we're going to say our member organization still has value, we have to also appeal to those who are the vast majority of the workforce at this point, and certainly coming up. First of all is understanding their expectations. That goes to the previous slide. Secondly, experiences should be connected in digital first. This is the expectation overall, but that doesn't preclude personal or in-person connection by any means. Because the third one is to personalize and humanize. And what we find is we're getting away from this point the more that we digitalize. So both of those side by side need to be true. Simplifying the membership path, and I would say also the advancement in leadership paths. Sometimes those can be quite complicated from one federation to the next. Develop relevant campaigns, targeted campaigns to these younger generations, respond to their career path. There's no more one career for life. People are expected to gain a new skill set every 5 years, and they will change careers 2 to 3 times, if not more. Incentivizing them. If they can do everything online for free, don't charge a high membership price. They will not pay it. And building community, which goes back to being connected and personalizing and humanizing. So what is the future? Which is it? Online, offline? Obviously, we have both. So we've got our in-person, more traditional format. We've got our remote options, which became prevalent during the last couple of years because of the pandemic. And we've got hybrid options. And I think hybrid is the way forward. If we have a big, wonderful, expensive 5-day Congress, not everybody can do that. They might not be able to take the time off. They might not be able to afford it. If they have a hybrid option where they can join in parts of it for a lesser fee, they might be encouraged to come to the next one. And also we would just have more participation, and that's more of a benefit as well. So to me, that middle ground is the way forward. The value of in-person interaction, the more traditional way, will not be replaced by digital. It simply can't, or we give up our humanity. And so the strength of an organization such as ours will remain, but digital is also here to stay. So we have to take that on board and adapt accordingly. And now we'd like to know your thoughts. So I'm going to open up the floor to anyone who is wanting to jump in and contribute and has something to add or questions to ask. And you can ask your question of the whole group of attendees today too. What do you all think about blah, blah, blah? That's whatever's in your mind. Do we have anyone who would like to speak? And if no one wants to be first, I've got some other things to add. Okay, so Emily, you would like to jump in?
Yes,
Oh.
I also saw that Sue raised her hand, so I don't want to speak too much today, but I quickly wanted to touch on a few of the points that Nalima had mentioned earlier, and kind of go into my experience with BPW. When I first joined, I was in the very much same boat. I started as an intern and I was like, oh yes, I love the advocacy platform of this organization. I'm so excited about this. And then once I started, I was like, what is going on here? I would go to a couple meetings and I was like, there's nothing really happening. So I would have left. I was planning on not continuing until we started the Afghan Women Project, which some of you may or may not have heard about. It was brilliantly successful, and it gave me so many of the experiences that we just spoke about in your presentation. Leadership experience, professional development, networking. I have connections with the Department of State. Like this, it was an incredible experience, so good for my resume, and it felt good to help. So, I mean, and it got people excited that we were doing something. So I think, to your point with, millennials, I am a millennial, and it gave me a great laugh. The second point, stressed. I was like, feel so seen. We want to help and we want to advance. And that's something that this organization really gave me was a springboard to go into these things, to create these movements and these initiatives to help people and have the history of our organization there, and in the US, we had a US president, a US Federation president present at the signing of the Equal Pay Act by President Kennedy. She got the first pen from him signing this bill. That's incredible. Like, that is where I want to see this organization again. That's what's going to get people excited to join again. And I think that's, imperative to the longevity of our organization. So that's my 2 cents. And I see, there's some hands, so I'll pass it over to you guys.
Thanks, Emily. So instead of quitting after your first year, you took on a club position, and then you took on or were elected to a national position, which you're serving now. So we're certainly glad you're still here. All right, I've got a couple of people in the lineup. I actually have Diana first, and then I'll come to you, Sue. So Diana is currently on our international board for her 2nd term. Diana?
Yes. Hello, everybody. I am currently in Switzerland. I had the face-to-face meeting in San Moser in the Alps, and it was quite positive, quite good. So I'm here in Switzerland, more at a decent time for me. It's not that early. What I wanted to say to Emily about the fact that we like to be with each other and we enjoy Zoom is cold for us. And I wanted to say that it's essentially because we are also women, and women like to see each other, like to hug, like to touch each other. And it's incredible because we were in the face-to-face, and we see each other every month by Zoom, but nothing like being together. And you get to understand each other better when you see body language, when you see the eyes, when you smile to each other. It's different. So that's one thing I wanted to say. The second thing I wanted to say is that BPW International is building the directory, BPW directory, which will be very useful for all the members, because we can write our skills, our talents, and we can become either experts or mentors by being there. The second thing we are doing is a project. The project, we put our projects in the website. And that is also very useful because we have our face to the world. They know the people that can finance some projects know what we're doing. And if we need financing, we're there. That's the second thing. The third thing I wanted to say is answering to you, Anne, about the International Congress, or the Congress in general. The International Congress, it's a debate of doing it face to face, like the Constitution mandates, or changing to a hybrid way. It is difficult to have hybrid, not because we cannot do it, it's because voting is not allowed like that. In the Constitution, we don't allow voting if we're not in face to face. And you know how it happened last time, how terrible our General Assembly was. We discussed this in our meeting, and I think it's important that we know that. I mean, maybe we can try and find ways to have people not participating in the vote, but being there and debating. That's something I hadn't thought, but it's important because young people might need to be there, give their advice, but they might not be able to vote. You see, only delegates in physical in the Congress. Well, that's what the three things I wanted to tell you.
Thank you so much, Diana. Yes, it's more reasonable for you time-wise in Switzerland than in Ecuador. So
Yes.
For anyone who doesn't know, our international executive meet once a year for about a week, 5 days, I think, face-to-face. And that's what Diana is attending currently in Geneva, I would assume. So one thing I want to just mention based on what you said, Diana, is I would think that the hybrid for Congress could be very simple, and that is that delegates have to be there in person. That's the simple way to do it. We've always had delegates and observers in Congress, and they've been in separate sections anyway, because only delegates can vote. And the delegates, for anyone who doesn't know, there's an allotted number for each affiliate based on many variables. So for those delegates to have to be there physically would clean up the voting issue, and then others could attend as observers. So that's an easy fix, I think. You can carry that back to executive maybe. So Sue, I'd like to come to you now. Thanks, Diana. Sue? You're still muted.
Yeah. Realized I was on mute. Thank you, ladies, for the talk today. I know Nelima because she has come to some of our own hybrid Zoom sessions. I just wanted to share with you from a UK, but also from a local perspective as well. During the lockdown, I asked for some feedback. I obviously appreciate this from existing members. And what I said to them was, how did they feel about Zoom? Now, my particular area that I have responsibility for, not only at UK level, but also locally, is all across the southwest of the UK. So I have people down in Devon, Cornwall, Wales, etc., which may not mean a great deal to people, but it's hundreds of miles away. So face-to-face in that respect can be quite costly and quite challenging. So what they fed back to me, and we meet twice a month on Zoom, was that they felt more connected during this lockdown period because they could Zoom. And the way I structured the Zoom, it was very much about, let's do a check-in. So everybody gets their, I don't know, was it elevator conversation in the UK? Is that the way in the US, how they express it? You know, it's that 30 seconds of fame. So how's things for you? So everybody feels they are heard. And then we always had a little bit of an agenda beforehand. I always allowed a bit of any other business, but it felt that we could exchange views. And I think it's, when we talk about it, it's how it's moderated, how it's organized. So as long as everybody feels heard and feel that they can make a contribution. And Nelima gets the twice monthly invites, whether she can make it or not. But, you know, it's nice to think that there is that involvement. And I hope she feels that she does get involved, or she is wanted as part of the UK setup, and obviously from the Southern England and Wales setup as well. So face to face, I absolutely agree with you, ladies. That's how you build bonds. But how you can still feel connected is by using the hybrid. So I think it's interesting what you're saying about the younger generation. And I'm looking at the dates, I'm thinking, actually, I'm earlier than any of those. So I'm not sure what my generation is. My generation is, I don't know, infinity probably. But anyway, so that's quite interesting, that it's how do we get the young people that they don't have to give up a half an hour to get there, an hour or 2 hours for the meeting, a half an hour again. They can actually just jump on and they do an hour, or it's a 30-minute. So it actually takes up less of their time. And if it's structured in the right way, they will feel that they do belong and they can make a contribution. So that was just a little bit of sharing with you, really. But I've really enjoyed today's session. I think it's reinforced the face-to-face element of it, which I'm a great believer in. And I agree with Diana about the old, we are ladies and we like to give each other hugs. And it's that physical contact and to be able to see someone's eyes and see them smile. That's important. And you don't get that in the same way from a Zoom perspective. And I love your cat, Anne, by the way.
Thanks,
Okay.
Sue, so much. Yes, she usually makes an appearance at some point. Thank you so much. So one thing to mention also is hybrid can have two different meanings. And one is that we have some online events and we have some in-person events. That's not really the true meaning as I understand it, but it's coming to mean that as well. And if we think of ourselves as a hybrid organization, it might take on that meaning where we have a mixture of events. But if you've gone to a meeting by Zoom where all of the speakers are actually together in the same place and maybe some other people too, and you are vicariously joining electronically, there's a kind of special bridge there where you feel also. We record all of these sessions, but I find even when I look at the recordings afterwards, it's not the same feeling as having been here in real time, having the discussion with all of you. It's just not the same, since I can have both perspectives. So there is something, though, about coming in real time to a meeting as we're doing now, and also some people actually being in a place that we feel like we're zooming into, if you will, that we're beaming in, to use old Star Trek terms. We're joining electronically. And it can feel even a little more real for those of us who can't be there physically. So I would like to see that kind of hybrid model as much as we can. All of this is valuable, but we do have to continue to evolve. I think that's the main point, evolve. That should be our buzzword, really, evolve. Emily, you wanted to jump in?
Yeah, sorry, Dr. Ann. I just had an idea while you were talking, the specialness of being, watching a live event going on, because we have a lot of members. The U.S. is massive. So we just had our General Assembly in August on the West Coast. And for me, coming from the East Coast, that's a 5-hour flight, and it's just not feasible for everyone. But I'm wondering almost if we could have like watch parties, like a chapter gets together, they're all in one room, hanging out, they can chat and have their own kind of smaller get together with a watch party. So it just, to have that in person and then also, feel connected. So just a little thought that I popped up while you were speaking. But
great, thanks, Emily. That was one of the proposals for how to handle the Congress that was happening in the height of the pandemic, the International Congress. Ultimately, we didn't follow that model so much because people still couldn't get together in any particular countries. But one idea was that there would be some of the organization, some of the international executive who could actually physically meet and handle the nuts and bolts of the processing. And that within various countries, or at least within certain cities, members could also get together at one house and then come into a live broadcast through any of the live, YouTube Live, Facebook Live, whatever platform we use. So that's certainly still something to consider, and we could do that in a variety of formats. I actually facilitated your last AGM last year through Zoom. I was the facilitator for national and US because that was the first time anybody was doing that, and it could only be on Zoom at that point. Eva, love to hear from you next. Come on in.
First, thank you, Dr. N, for organizing all these events, as I'm the only one from Europe, except Diana, who's quite near in Switzerland. I'm in Tyrol. It's only a 3 hours drive distance. So I am a great fan of LinkedIn and Zoom. We have a great experience with our BPW Austria project, WOL, Working Out Loud. We sent an invitation to about 500 women who are in our group of BPW Austria on LinkedIn. And we will get about 20 or 30 women who will start with Working Out Loud. You know this project. There are peer groups. You know mentoring. One mentee, one mentor. In Working Out Loud, it's an American project. BPW Germany bought it. No, did not buy it. They got the license to use it, and now we use it in Austria. We put 4 women in one group, peers, and they work 12 weeks, 1 hour each week on their aim, on their visibility, on their getting their own projects to get into work. And they help each other. And as we invited about 400 women to come into this kick-off event on Zoom, and we had about 40 who came. 10 told us, sorry, I cannot come, I want to be in it. So now we wait till November. In the 1st or 7th of November, we close the admission, and then we put 4 women in each group. And there is about half of the women are no members. So first, we ask, in which part of Austria do you live? We connect them with, we have 9 clubs in Austria. We cannot connect them with the president there. If they, obviously they will be okay as members, they will have to be a member till the end of October, and in November, now they are then allowed to join the VOL groups. And we are very, this is a success for us because our members, the numbers were decreasing. And now with this spreading offline, in person, we could not have done this much invitations to reach 400 women on LinkedIn. That's our target group. And yeah, just to tell you, perhaps there's another possibility for you in other parts of the world.
Great, Eva, thank you very much. So a couple of things to mention there, and then I'll come to you, Catherine. One is that or another established program, or one that you create yourselves, but you can just license another program. If you have an actual program to offer potential members, that's a very concrete value. They can easily see what they are joining and the value to them. So that's certainly one note from there. And the other is, for sure, we should all be on LinkedIn. We've been saying this for years. Many of us have individual memberships. BPW still functions largely on Facebook. I don't know why. Anyway, and so we should be on LinkedIn. And of course, if we're appealing to younger generations, Instagram becomes important. TikTok might be, but I'm not sure it's always professional, but there are professionals there too. But maybe that's specific to YBPW programs. But generally, all of us, regardless of age, our clubs and federations really should be using LinkedIn as a platform, in my view. And the combination of LinkedIn and Zoom, brilliant, brilliant, because you're reaching out to working individuals by the nature of the platform. Excellent, thank you. Okay, Catherine, you wanted to join in?
Yes, I'm located in London, Canada, another London. Um, and I wanted to make a couple of comments. One is that in our local group, our membership had dropped a lot through the pandemic. In September, we had our first meeting in person since February of 2020. So everything, including celebration events, had been online since starting in March of 2020. And we tried to continue the monthly meeting program with a sort of speaker series that we'd had about 10 months a year for many years. That was sort of our program. There was a lot of interest, and we had a bunch of new members who joined at the September meeting. So, I think there was some sort of pent up demand kind of for the experience of being in person, which was very positive. But I do think, I guess I should say, and I do think at the same time, thinking back in the part of my life where I had young children, which would be relevant to the millennial age group, for example, it's much more difficult to, you're working all day, you've got to arrange for childcare in the evening. It's not that easy. And being able to just join in online gave a lot of flexibility for people who otherwise would have been constrained from being able to, even drive across the city and go to a meeting in person, let alone, any further distance. So, I do think the option of participating online gives a lot more flexibility given women's schedules of trying to do many different tasks in addition to the, the business thing that we do for our work. One of the challenges that I've really noticed over the pandemic is that the hybrid model that I've seen used did not really work. When a few of you mentioned having meetings in person and joining in, and maybe that works with a smaller meeting of the in-person people are 2 or 3, and the higher number, the higher proportion of the meeting attendees are online. That maybe works, but what I've certainly found where you have a larger group together, so if you were able to do, say, the monthly meeting structure in person, but have some people who are trying to attend online, I think we have not at least found a way to make that work feasibly for the people who are attending virtually. I think it's very hard for people to jump into the conversation. It's hard to sort of set up even the visual dynamic to be able to see the other participants in the room, and certainly the microphones on most laptops don't pick up the voice. I mean, there's just a bunch of technology issues that we have not managed to solve to make that really feasible. So, I think the idea of hybrid is good, but I think there's some challenges in really making that not just a kind of a boring thing for the people who are virtually participating and really can't participate anywhere close to the level that they could have if they were there in person. So
very valid, Catherine. Thank you. A couple of things popped into my mind as you said that, and one would be to have a wireless mic that's connected to the broadcasting computer, and everybody in the room needs to use that mic. It can be passed along. Another might be that people from home are joining maybe just vicariously to listen in more than to participate, but it can be set up like this, where you have it in, you've got options on view, and if it was in speaker view, the larger room could be the larger window and people at home could be the smaller windows. So you've got the perspective and the feeling of being there. But certainly we need to solve some of those particular issues. So a work in progress. Thank you so much. Eva, you want to jump in again? We are running out of time, so I'll give you a minute, and then speakers, be prepared. I'm going to come to you for a last comment. You can be thinking about it while Eva, I know it's Eva. I keep saying Eva, the American way.
Oh, it's okay. It's okay.
Eva, please
one
jump
short
in.
mention to hybrid when there is a greater event, Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. The the digital form, when you put a camera on only the speakers, 30 minutes, and put this on YouTube or some other channel. And then those who are at home, who could not attend this weekend, they can get information about this 30 minutes, perhaps 1 hour. And then the event is in present, okay, but they at home get these important informations. So that's what I have seen this function very well.
Great. Great. Thank you, Eva. And then maybe also putting the platforms, the speaking, the panels and such on day 1, and on day 2 and 3, you have more online activity with breakout room function and so on, so that people have a chance to discuss that. And in between, it's their responsibility to watch the video so that they've caught up and are prepared to participate. Great. Lots of ideas we can keep generating. Okay, Emily, last comments?
Yeah, you know, we hear it a lot in our clubs, our chapters, you know, how do we increase our membership? And I think, you know, one of the main questions, you know, a counter question is, well, what are we doing to entice members to join us, right? We can bring people in, you know, as Nalima and myself, you know, we came in here and then we're like, okay, what's going on here? I think, you know, instead of being so focused on how to bring members in, we do need to be focused on how to bring members in, but we need to focus also on how to keep the members that we have and to make it an attractive organization that people are excited to join. So that's my main thing, you know, just in my role, that's what I'm really trying to do throughout my term, is create initiatives that people are interested in joining, and, you know, create movements that especially young women can get around. You know, period poverty. Why do we have this? Why are we paying taxes? Why can I go to a bar and there's a bowl of condoms for free, but I go into the restroom and have to put in a coin to get, you know, menstrual products? This is ridiculous, you know? Things like this, these little movements that we can get around, that we can create initiatives that make people want to join us, say, hey, that organization over there, they're doing things. And then, you know, once you're in it, you get these opportunities for fabulous networking and professional development and personal growth. So, you know, I think focusing on what's here, what we have, what we can grow on, what we can establish that's ours, I think is what's really going to increase our membership and move us forward. But thank you again so much for having me. It's been fabulous being here and chatting with all of you and hearing these ideas. I'm really excited to work and make BPW thrive.
Thank you so much. Okay, Nilima, last words.
So I guess everybody has their views about how we need to move forward. But what I would suggest, that no matter it is in person or virtual, whatever kind of a format we use in our clubs or federation, whenever we have a new member or we recruit a new member, we need to realize one thing is that we need to give her enough space to speak up. We have to give her what BPW has to offer, and also what she can give back to BPW. So if we keep that in mind and engage them and guide them, because if we don't do that, they are not going to renew their membership. And this organization runs through membership. And if we want more members, we have to make sure that each and every member is part of something, you know, in BPW, whether it is in task force, it is in standing committee, whether it is in projects, or whether it is while organizing events. Everybody has something to offer. So we need to track that, what the new member has to offer to the club. So if we use that, no matter it is virtual or online, or, you know, it's a expensive event, believe me, the amount of money that I make in Nepal does not allow me to travel around the world. But I did spend a lot of money for BPW because I wanted to learn more, because I understood what it has what BPW has to offer to me and what I can do using the BPW platform to bring change in the world. So if we can show the same vision to the young members, I believe we'll double the membership within very short time. And these members will be the global voice of the revolution that has started in 19, like 100 years back, more than 100 years back, and we are still fighting and still needs to, we need to speed up this process. So I would say that the only way forward is to accept the young members as they are with whatever, whatever they have to offer, and to appreciate them with the small little thing that they do. Because I don't need an award in front of 1,000 people, but I would love if somebody comes to me and says, okay, you did well. That is enough for me. That is enough for everyone. And that's how we need to move forward if we really want to make BPW, because when I hear that BPW was the first organization who was granted affiliation to UN in 47, sorry. Look at us, even after 100 years, if we go to some event in some event related to UN and we say BPW, many people don't know. The reason is that we are not that much visible in the last, I don't know how many decades, but we need to make visible, because the last chairperson of NGO CSW was Susan O'Malley, and she was a BPW member. And, I used to feel so proud when I looked up in the, dais saying that, in front of all the organizations, he was saying like, I am the chair of this, and I am from BPW International. That's what we need to do. We need to see another member making BPW International visible in international platform. And I see that in Emily, I see that in Selin, I see that in a lot of young members who are trying their best. And we just need to give them, appreciation and guide them with whatever knowledge we have. I think, and that's all I have to say, Dr. Ann Hilty. And thank you so much for organizing this, monthly webinar, which I call it a monthly dose of BPW that keeps me going on. And I'm really looking forward to another month with another webinar to hear from another speakers. And thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you to you too, Nilima, and to you, Emily, both of you, for your participation, and everybody in the room for being informal members of our panel today. I will just add my own final comment here, and that is I really embrace digital, as anyone who knows me knows, even though I'm not a digital native by margin. And yet, it's not only the hugs and the community for me, but many people have said to me when they attended their first in-person event, usually they mean a regional conference or the Congress, the International Congress, a big event, for the first time they fully understood BPW. And that impact, if someone has a chance, and not everyone can have the chance, again, time, money, and other considerations, but that impact of not only what's being presented from a dais, that's important in all of our business meetings that are happening formally during these events, but all the side meetings, all the conversations over lunch, all the coffee conversations, where your mind is just continually blown by what people are doing around the world or in your region. And tick, 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 you're getting so many ideas. So there are many reasons to continue to talk about the benefits of our in-person traditional organization, even as we continue to evolve. That's my buzzword now, evolve. We must evolve, or we're a dinosaur. So to go forward, we have to also evolve more in the digital realm. But it's not either or. So I'll leave it at that. Thank you all again for coming, for participating. It's a lively discussion. Really love it. It will be online within 24 hours and announced on, our Facebook page. We're still there too. We have to get a presence on LinkedIn for this series. And bye for now, and we hope to see you all again next time.